Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. I know it's been a couple weeks. It feels like it for me. You know what I mean? We had stuff to do. But we're glad that everybody's here. We have very special guests today. Your mom is not here.
She's not.
But we had a great time. The last.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was amazing, and it was very, very special.
Right.
Does that make sense? Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol, and I'm the Public Information Officer.
And you, sir.
I am Master Sergeant Richard Maynor with the 99th Security Forces Squadron, Nellis Air Force Base, and I'm currently the Section Chief over the training section as well as the weapons and tactics section.
Fantastic. And you, sir.
I'm Trooper Villanueva, Nevada State Police. I'm the Southern recruiter for Nevada State Police down here in Region 1.
Love the recruiting, you know what I mean? Let's start with you, sir, okay? Thank you for being here. You know, with what you do, I know that you're very busy, and so to come down here to the studio and hang out and talk with us and stuff like this is really important. The basis of the Trooper Talk is that we want to always go inside the life of the Nevada State Police and tell people how great it is. And from the command staff all the way down, that people really care. And there's people out there that when you do a great job, that they're going to say you're doing a great job, and you know that there's promotions and things like this. And so it means a lot that you're here.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis for your job.
Right, will do. So to begin, I just want to say that anything I say is going to be from the perspective of Richard Maynor, and it's nothing to do with the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force. So my day-to-day operations right now is just overseeing, as mentioned, our training section. So charged with prepping what we call defenders. We call them defenders. That's our members of the Security Forces Squadron to go out and do their daily operations. And that's primarily going to be securing the base through law enforcement operations, as well as not so much base defense here stateside as it would be overseas, but you know, we do have assets that we have to protect. So yeah, day-to-day law enforcement operations, how to conduct traffic stops, how to check IDs and make sure that all the appropriate personnel are getting on base.
How long have you been with the Air Force?
So I've been in 14 years now. And I've been here at Nellis actually a little over 5. I just recently received orders to my next duty station, which will be at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. So been here quite a while, longer than usual. However, my wife is actually active duty as well, so she took a position that kept us here for an additional 3 years. So coming up, wrapping that up, and then the end of this year we should be getting ready to leave and head back to New Mexico, which was our first duty station, so actually where we met. So it's kind of cool to be going back to where it all started, and potentially we'll see if retirement is there or not, but we're both excited to be heading back. So
I'm assuming Kirkland's a lot better than Cannon, right?
Oh,
that's where my son went.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they didn't really care for that.
I would say 100%. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time there. You know, tons of outdoor stuff. The mission's really good. So looking forward to going back kind of as a senior NCO now versus when I was there as an airman my very first time back 2011 time frame. So it should be interesting to see the changes and just see it from a different perspective now. So
a lot of things he does is 100% secret. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, we had the dignitary protection.
Yes, for the governor's detail.
For governor's detail came on, and he was the sergeant, right?
Okay.
And so he came on, and it was so cool because he was having a conversation with you, but he was having a conversation with the room,
right?
And there was no one else in the room. and so, like, it was very cool. And when we were engaging in the conversation, Trooper Hagstrom made him laugh a few times, right? And he looked over and he giggled, right? Like, oh, you know, but you knew that as much as the laughing and the joking and you know what I mean, that
Right.
like it's not a laughing and joking matter. You know what I mean? Like there's things that you do, just like the Nevada State Police, right? That they do things when the president comes in and all this type of stuff that is 100% secret. Oh, relax. Is 100% secretive to everyone else except for them. So Trooper Hagstrom, let's go to you. Fantastic that you brought him in.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I am so glad to get Master Sergeant Maynor out here because I first met him over a year ago. We had a law enforcement event on Nellis, and we've kept in touch. And we've done a lot of stuff with Nellis. And Nevada State Police has always had a partnership with Nellis Air Force Base. We used to do a lot of our training out there. They have a shoot house and stuff that we used to use. And we've did different, we even had some vehicle training at one time on the base or whatever, but that's going years back. But we've always had that mutual working relationship. Matter of fact, tomorrow evening, this is going to air a week later, so we won't be able to put it on, but we're going to have a candlelight vigil at our department, and we're actually going to Nellis tomorrow to pick up some bleachers that they're loaning us for our event tomorrow night. And that candlelight vigil is for everybody, all the persons that were lost on our roadways in 2024. So we lost 412 people last year, and just in Las Vegas Valley alone, we lost 88 lives. So we're going to have their families come out and do a candlelight vigil for them. The press will be out there. So this is not only a somber moment, but where people can get together and talk and know that their loved ones have not been forgotten that were killed on our interstates or highways around Nevada. So we always put that on every year, and it's Candlelight Vigil at Highway Patrol headquarters. And we're going to discuss that a little bit later, but we got the air show coming on Saturday, 5th and 6th coming up. And this is going to hit right around that time when this gets on TV, so we want a lot of people to get out there. I'm going to be out there. Unfortunately, Louis will not be there. He's going to be at a wedding in Texas. So, but we're going to have Douglas McClarty's going to be out there. I'm going to be out there for recruiting.
Good old
and
Corporal
one thing,
McClarty, right?
Absolutely,
Right.
Corporal McClarty. I should have said that right. One more thing is, what's great is these guys are in training. Training division, so they can kind of talk about training, and what's nice about that is we have, I wish McCarty was here too, because we could kind of discuss a little bit of things that they have in common, you know what I mean, doing training. And what else was I going to say about there's something else going on at the base. We'll have to cut that out,
We'll cut
Johnny.
that out.
Yeah,
We
sorry.
like that, though.
Yeah.
He's very excited. You know
No,
what
I
I'm
am.
saying?
You know what? No, I was trying to think of something
I know,
else, but I can't.
this is what happens when
It's
we
gone
don't
on
see
my
each
mind
other.
because there's like 15 things I
Yeah.
want to say. Yeah.
Nobody
Go ahead.
knows this, but we haven't filmed in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because we had to do stuff in the studio and moving things around and all this type of stuff, and so when we film every single week, so when we don't film, it's like all these things are bottled up.
Yeah,
So
Right,
it's
right.
Built
Well, it
up
is.
to get 'em
Trust
out.
me.
Nevada State Police. I mean, nothing against the Air Force, of course. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, when we talk about the Nevada State Police, right? We talk about leadership.
Right.
We talk about wanting good people that want to come in and spend time and that are here to not only protect and serve the community and all this type of stuff, but that they really have to have this passion to want to do what it is that you do. And I come back to the fact that, one of the cool things is in the academy, they make sure that every single thread on your uniform is perfect.
Right.
I'm sure that you go through the
Right,
same
right.
type of thing. You know
Similar.
what I mean? That you forget that, and then you forget your pistol because you left it on the bed, and then somebody comes and you're like, oh geez, like what do I do now, right?
Yep.
Recruiting, it's so important, and there's so many different things that the recruiting does,
Right.
from the bilateral moves to the getting out of the military and going into the Nevada State Police, that 6-month thing.
Right.
Talk to us about all these things.
So with Nevada State Police, we accept laterals from other agencies, not just in town, not just in state, but from all over the country. We will, as long as our post certificate matches with whatever certificate it is that your state has, we'll be able to certify you as a lateral officer, and we'll match your step increase or your years of service essentially. As well as with the military, we have a program called Skill Bridge. So if your tour is coming up to an end and it's like the last 6 months, we'll bring you on as an internship. You'll still get paid by the military. However, you're working with us prior to the academy. So then that way you understand the processes, the paperwork of everything that goes behind the scenes that we don't even get to see sometimes. The last 4 months of your Skill Bridge internship, you're able to do the academy while you're still getting paid by the military. So we have a lot of different processes and a lot of different opportunities for all walks of life. I mean, we have veterans, we have people who are still active duty, we have laterals, we have people that have no experience whatsoever come in to apply with us. And I usually tell people no experience is needed. We are going to teach you how to be a law enforcement officer in the academy. We're going to teach you that attention to detail, not to forget that thread so you don't forget your pistol one day when you go on duty. So there's a lot that goes into recruiting. I would say the best of the best, because I consider Nevada State Police the best of the best in Nevada. We have some of the top tier training, we have some of the top tier equipment, and some of the top tier people just in general. So all of the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis are just phenomenal to work for.
Yeah, and I want to get to the pictures, but if someone doesn't know, like they've never picked up a firearm in their life, you know what I mean? Like they not the fact that they're scared of it, but they're like, look, I don't want to take and put my hand on something that could potentially take someone's life, right?
Right.
If you want to train, if they want to get trained, you will do that.
Yep.
On top of which, there are a lot of administrative positions that are that they want to fill.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, correct.
Like, what's her name? Your mom.
Yep. Mama Villanueva. Yep.
Yes. And so talk to us about that, and then we'll get to some pictures.
Yeah, so also a lot of the younger generation wants to apply, however, they're not meeting that age requirement. So what I usually tell people is come and work for us as an admin assistant at either Highway Patrol or Parole and Probation, and that way you understand the processes and what it's like on the paperwork side of it or the administrative side of it, of the law enforcement side. And then once you come of age to apply for Highway Patrol or Parole and Probation, put in your application, you kind of already have a foot in the door. Another opportunity is dispatching. Dispatching is a great opportunity to get into. For one, you're starting to learn all of the codes that we use on the radios. You start learning the processes of the way Highway Patrol calls things out, or how we work crashes, or just day-to-day functions in general. So then again, once you start the academy or you decide to take the jump and become a law enforcement officer, you have all of like 10 steps in, because you're ahead of so many other people. You already understand the language we use. You already understand all the codes that we use and the processes that we do.
18, right?
18, yep.
Right. So they can be in for 2.5 years doing things.
Correct.
Kind of like the military, right? Like you know, if somebody wants to join the military, you have to be 18 or 21?
18.
18. So you can. Most people, when they graduate high school, are 18 years old. 18 years, and so, you know, obviously tremendous careers. So let me tell you, we used to just talk, which I love. Does that make sense? But the problem is that people were not paying attention as much. So now what we do is we do pictures. And so again, let me just say that nothing we do is scripted. You know what I mean? Like he sends the pictures to Johnny, and so I don't even see the pictures. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Here we go. Saturday, March 22nd.
Neil, this was our last Saturday. We had Trooper Castlebaum. He hasn't been on your show yet, but we've had a couple, or actually 3 different commercial guys that were able to speak with you lately on that. And what they did last Saturday is they got invited to Custom Trucking, Quikrete, which owns it, and they went ahead and went and spoke with all the drivers of the company, showed them about how to be thorough about pre and post-trip, getting their all their paperwork ready. And a lot of these trucking companies, they already have like computer logs already, but they're letting them know what they need, all the safety inspections that our commercial enforcement do on a daily basis, so they can be ready and make sure that their trucks are safe on the road. So our commercial unit's been going to different trucking centers or whatever that they want to invite them or whatever, and they'll go over with all these drivers what to do to be more safe on the road. And we've talked about that on your show numerous times about that.
The trucking industry is so important. You know what I mean? Like they do so much that they take all of our goods. They do so much that we have to always be respectful of them when we're traveling, right? And at that same token, they have to be respectful of those big, heavy trucks that they're driving.
Right.
Let's be very clear. Like, this might be the 2% of all the trucks or 3% of all the trucks, right? That most trucks are diligent and most trucking companies. So when we see things like this, it's fantastic because this is what the Nevada State Police is about. They're about the due diligence to go out and talk and figure out what needs to be done to make everybody better and to make our roadways safer. It's so important.
Absolutely, and it's very important because, a big rig, if they get in a crash on our roadways, not only tying up the time for interstate commerce, but the injuries or possible fatalities, just because they don't have the stopping power, and if they do lose the brakes or something goes bad safety-wise, then they're looking at tremendous lawsuits and personal injuries or even fatals down the road, and most companies don't want that. They want to have safety compliance all the way. A lot of these big companies, they have safety compliance officers that work with our troopers to make sure that their trucks, before they get on the road, are always safe for the public. So.
Training. Oh, it's my turn to talk. Okay. Training. Trooper Hagstrom said that you know about that. You probably deal with a lot of trucks that are, and again, not specifics, not in a specific place, right? But that move things from place to place,
Right.
right? It's not just airplanes and stuff like this. There's things, and so stop. Thank you. Talk to us about what it is when it comes to the training. In your job, what it is that you're able to share,
Right.
right? Because we want good people that want to do things for a career, right?
Right.
And so people come and they watch the show and they look at you and they decide that this might be the career for them. You know what I mean? And so one of the things that's wonderful about the Nevada State Police is that they work with all the different agencies. It doesn't matter if it's a localized jurisdiction of the police departments, right? But sometimes they have to go into the rural areas, where there's like one officer, right? And all of a sudden that officer is is needed somewhere and they have to go help. And so it takes people of higher ranking positions that know, like one of the cool things was when you said you're going back to New Mexico.
Right.
So you started as an airman at the very bottom,
Yes, sir.
and now you're a senior officer, right?
Or senior non-commissioned officer.
Senior
Yes, sir.
non-commissioned
Yes, sir.
officer, but you know what I mean? Like it's a totally different place.
Right.
And so it's very cool. So the thing is that it's very important. You know what I mean? So
Right.
with what it is that you do, because you at the end of the day you're securing the nation,
Right.
right? Come here. Want a treat? Then stop. Thank you. What you're doing is you're securing the nation, and so with you securing the nation, it's just like the Nevada State Police, securing our streets, right? And so there's a lot of due diligence that goes into that you have to focus on. So I can only imagine like how taxing. Now you live on the base?
I do not. I live in Aliante area.
Okay. So you travel. You've never been there. So you travel to the base every day?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And so is it, my last and final question is sort of just a silly question,
Right.
but you know what I mean? When you drive onto the base, and obviously you know everybody that's at their post, does
Right.
that make sense?
That does.
what kind of feeling does that give you, like, just on a personal level, that like you were here, and now you've elevated your position,
Right.
and so now those people sort of work underneath you or for you, right? I don't know how the military describes that, right? What type of feeling does that give you?
I think, especially being overtraining, you know, obviously everything those guys and gals learn when it comes to, you know, properly vetting people before they come on the base, you know, comes directly from our office. Right when we get people in, every time we put them through an initial training to make sure they're good to go on local policies and all things like that. So anytime we go through there and, you know, we know they're doing the job correctly, it always feels good to know that my guys, my training team has had a part in ensuring those guys are doing the right thing and keeping the base secure. So, yeah, I would say it feels great to go through there and
It does, right?
know that the base is secure due to
Because
the
of
training
you.
the training that my guys conduct.
Right.
So, right, I definitely give those guys
They're
the credit.
part of it.
They
Absolutely.
are they are the ones out there doing most of the training, and I'm the one there doing most of the admin work, trying to make sure I take care of them the best that I can. So,
It's the reason I bring that up is because two of the PIOs, well, actually, one of the PIOs and Officer McClarty, who was at parole and probation, who used to come on to the Trooper Talk, and Trooper Wellman, right, have elevated their position, and now they are in the training,
right.
right? And so one of the cool things about the Nevada State Police that I always come back to is that you want to do the best job that you can for yourself, but also when it comes to that, the leadership at the Nevada State Police, like, love and care and want to give you all the I was going to say everything, but you know, like they want to give you all the resources that you need to make yourself and the job great. And so that's why we have you know, Sergeant Donaldson. You know, he's a legend.
Oh, yeah.
He had 232 DUIs last year, right? And so that was after he was named Trooper of the Year, and then after he got promoted to sergeant, and you know, and so like, and he goes out, and he moved from Washington, but you know, like, he goes out every day and he tells his people that work for him, right, like how great they are and how they want to do things. And so this again comes to the Nevada State Police. This comes down to the recruiting. This comes down to wanting people that want to join the Nevada State Police because they really want to do this. And that's something Nevada State Police provides.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, it you can see it from day one in the academy. Who's there to want to make a difference. It's something that the corporals are starting to do in the academy now. They're starting to ask them what the reasoning is to start law enforcement, and they're also having them print out a picture of the reason of why. What's the reason of why they want to go back home? What's the reason of why they're pursuing this career? So then that way they see that picture every single day, and they continue to believe that and continue to pursue that. But and that also goes to leadership, right? With the leadership that we have at Nevada State Police is incredible. We most of us know the upper command by first name. They call us by first name, and they check on how we're doing, how home life is, how our spouses are, how the kids are doing, and they know our kids' names. So it's a really good family environment at Nevada State Police, and it doesn't matter if you work for Highway Patrol or parole and probation. We're all intermingled, and it's an interagency love essentially. So it's amazing to work for Nevada State Police.
The lieutenant colonel sends everybody a text on their birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like literally,
Yeah.
like he takes the time, and however he has it in his calendar or whatever. You know, he came on the show. We had him on the show once. We always see him at the command, but one time he came here. It was like the 150th show or something like this, and he came with the major and all that. And we had the sofa. At that time, we didn't have the chairs,
Okay.
and it was a little bit more scrunched.
Right.
Yeah.
And You know, they were talking and all that, and then I was like, "Oh, why don't you come in here?" No, 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 no. And then we like snuck him in there for like, you know, maybe a minute or two. You know what I mean? But like, it's so important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so the Nevada State Police and obviously the Air Force, right? They deserve the respect that, you know, like people go in there because they want to make a difference. You know what I mean? Like and I always come back to the fact that, you know, there's probably a million other things that everybody could be doing to be making a lot more money. But the difference is that, you know, they're not going to get this type of thing. And you forgot to mention
What's that?
the take-home car.
Oh, that's right.
We got so many different
Yeah.
things that we could
Right.
really go on, but
So
yeah,
many
that's one of the
different
big
benefits.
ones. You know, that's one of the big
You want to
ones.
see the take-home car too?
And you know what? When I wanted to talk about a little bit about training when I left off before,
Yeah.
that's one of the good things that I wanted Master Sergeant Maynor out here too, was to discuss more in depth about the Skill Bridge program, because I couldn't think of it in my mind when I was trying to get out, but
yeah.
but it's so important because being in the military, you can easily transition. We've talked about that a little bit earlier. Leaving the military, what is it, 6 months? You can start
yeah,
from there
6 months, yep.
and go from there. So it's for every military, and those that are looking to get out of the military soon. We're always hiring at NevadaStatePolice.com. Look us up, you know, and just like you said, laterals and everything else. But this was one of the reasons that I wanted to get Master Sergeant Maynor on here, is because there are some people leaving, you know, like for instance, he's in security forces. They do the police work. They already have a little bit of that knowledge already, and it won't take much for them to leave the security forces to be an officer later on. You know, if he decides to retire, I know that my son, when he went in the Air Force, he'll be 38 years old, right? And he'll have his full benefits or whatever done his 20 years or 20 plus years. And you can do another 20 years, be 58, have 2 retirements, and then wait for Social Security, and then you'll have even more money. So, I mean, I always tell people, plan ahead, look ahead of your future, what you want to do. And this is something maybe he might want to do when he retires. It could be, you know what I mean? You never know, being in security forces. He might want to be a law enforcement officer in Albuquerque, New Mexico or something, if they decide to stay in New Mexico or somewhere, or a smaller town where the base is at Kirkland. So that's why I want people to know in the military, you have a bunch of choices, you know, whether you want to stay in. Military is a great career, don't get me wrong. I think we've all served here. Louis, did you serve in the military?
I did
No?
not, nope.
That's okay. That's okay. But I mean,
Biggest
you
regret.
know, there's a bunch of people that, you know, that work for us now. Even my past supervisors have retired from the Air Force. My Sergeant Mayor did 25 plus years with the Air Force, and he was a sergeant at my last duty station. And tremendous people to work for, you know. So, and they've already had that skill set, and they know a little bit about the training prior to getting into law enforcement. So that really helps out being in the military.
Right.
Yeah, it's really fantastic, and again, I love the fact of the double pensions. Do you like as a little boy, you always think like, you know, like little boys grow up and they're like, I want to be a police officer, right? Or I want to be a fireman or whatever, right? And I always loved as a boy, like growing up wearing camo pants, right? Like I always thought it was the coolest thing ever. Is it cool to like wear the camouflage every day? Does it make you
is.
like feel like excited or anything like that?
I mean, at this point,
is
14
what it
years,
is.
you know, it's nice to be able to
Kinda
know
rub
what
off
I'm
a
going to
little bit.
wear, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice for that fact, for sure. It's easy to get up and get dressed in the mornings, you know,
Yeah.
shave my face and go to work. But it does. I'll say growing up, I grew up in a small town in Texas. So we didn't really have a lot of military. I would say towards when I graduated, there were a few classes before me that people started going off to the military and stuff like that. But we didn't see a lot of military. And joining the military was never really a thought for me, even beforehand. We used to have recruiters every now and then would come to the school, and they would do their thing, and they'd be, hey, you want to take the ASFAB? I'd go take the ASFAB, you know. But it was never really a thought to ever join. And then I had a friend who actually was getting ready to go see a recruiter down in Del Rio, Texas, which is the closest Air Force base to where I grew up. And my dad told me, hey, why don't you just go with him and see what it's all about? So I went down there, and sure enough, before I knew it, I was scheduled to go back, take some practice ASFABs, and we went on to the base and we'd seen all the nice, they had a really nice fitness center, a lot of nice things. So, but I mean, it was the best decision I ever made. I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing if I hadn't joined. So
That's great.
I don't.
That's
I
good
wouldn't
news.
think it'd be anything crazy, but I would have probably been in the small town I grew up in, or one of the surrounding cities. And but having joined, I've been able to travel quite a bit. Obviously, met my wife, had our son. We got one 7-year-old son. So I'm grateful for having joined, and especially thinking I never would have.
This is one of the cool things,
Right.
right? Is that if he went there and that recruiter was a jerk,
Right.
right? Or was like, I don't really care if you're here or not, right? Then maybe here's a person who would have said, you know what, this isn't a career for me. And this isn't what I want to do. And so when it comes to that, it's wonderful. And when it comes to the Nevada State Police, you make yourself available,
Right.
So listen, I can't do 25 push-ups because my arms really hurt.
Right.
Okay, well, come and see me on Saturdays.
Right.
We'll work on it together, right? I can't run the mile. It hurts me. I'm too overweight. I can't move my leg. All these different things. But this is what the preparation before you go into the academy. And one of the things that we learned is that when people go to the pre-academy, they failed the fitness test a couple of times. So you failed. But, either you fail and you stop, or you fail and you say, this is what I want to do, and so it happens.
Right.
And so that's one of the wonderful things, and I'm sure the Air Force does the same, that, the Nevada State Police does, that they will make themselves available at any designated time, and that's something you do, right?
Yep, absolutely. So if there's stuff that you are not completely 100% with, if you don't think that you're going to pass the push-ups or the sit-ups, I make myself available, and we do just a practice fitness test, and I'll give you some tips and some tricks. And we kind of made a workout program. I also have to say I am not a licensed trainer. However, I am assisting you to get to the goal that you want to get to.
Right.
But I tell people all the time, there's no reason to give up. If you fail the fitness exam, you can take it as many times as you want to. There's nothing saying that you can't. So come out and try it, and you might surprise yourself. And then the beautiful thing about it, too, is once you get into the academy, they're going to continue building you and continue making you stronger and continue working with you to make you stronger person in general.
Yeah.
And Neil, I'll add on a little bit to that too. If it's something you've always wanted to do, never give up, because even in any job, a lot of people try 3 or 4 times. It might get passed over for some other reasons or something, but you might get that job down the road, and if you want it bad enough, you'll try. And to switch it, let's say for people on the money aspect, millionaires, most of the multimillionaires and everybody in this country have failed 8 or 9 times, have gone out of business before they became millionaires or billionaires. It's because they had that inner drive in them, that they wanted to succeed, and that's what we want for everybody that comes to Nevada State Police, or whether you're going to the Air Force or anywhere in the military. Well, you got to have that in you, that you want to succeed, and there's people out there willing to work with you to make sure that you succeed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I got so many more questions for him. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
that's great. That's great.
I hope I'm not making you feel uncomfortable.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
not at all.
10:30 in the morning.
Yep. Car passes at 109 in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. That's already reckless driving, okay? Not only to top it off with reckless, this guy blows a 2.248.
Are you dead
It's
at that point?
0.08 is illegal for DUI, right? It's almost like 5 times over the legal limit. This is at 10:30 in the morning, 109 coming in our state. And I had to put this up. This is so unacceptable, and I almost, they really didn't want me to use the saying at the end, but I had to, just to get my point across, because this guy's coming in for vacation, and if you think you're gonna, and I put, you drink, you drive, you lose, but my main thing I wanted to say is, you come on vacation, leave on probation, because this is total ridiculous and nonsense. Not only putting your life on the line, but what about the other lives being intoxicated at that kind of speed and you're on a major thoroughfare coming into Las Vegas, Nevada. It's unbelievable.
I don't even know what to say.
And you could see the wonderful tow truck in front of that car with that person being arrested. And they went ahead and sent me the picture of the radar locked in at 109 and a .248. And I just wanted to show people out there, if you think you're going to be coming into the state drinking and we catch you, you don't have to be all over the road to be as a drunk driver. There's numerous times I've worked up in Mesquite and I'm running radar and they're speeding, and when I start talking to them, I smell that alcohol and slurred speech and everything. They were driving fine, but they're doing a straightaway, high speed, get arrested for DUI. It's unbelievable, unacceptable. If you think you're coming in this state for this, you will be going to jail.
This is totally like preposterous. Like we see a lot of things on this show. You know what I mean? Because we see 100 miles, and unfortunately 100 miles an hour. We see, not to say all the time, but like all the time.
It's every day. It's pretty much
102, 106. You know what I mean? The normal speed that Trooper Hagstrom talks about is 91, 95. You know what I mean? Like this type of thing. But and sometimes we'll see the alcohol, at a high. You know what I mean? But like. This is totally the thing is this. All this person needed to do was kill someone, and he's in jail for the rest of his life.
Right. Especially at that.
You know what I'm saying?
And no excuses. No excuses.
There's no excuses for either one. You know what I'm saying? And so.
And the sad thing is, us being Las Vegas, we have alcohol or drug-related impaired driving all the time. All hours of the day, all hours of the night. This is somebody coming from out of state into our state. And
this person was driving a car.
Coming in from California into Nevada. You know what I mean? How long ago was he impaired in California before he even got into our state line? Because this is down by Primm, by the state line. So he's driving, from Baker or Victorville, intoxicated the whole time.
Wasted.
It's unbelievable. And was he drinking the whole time? Was there alcohol in the car? I mean, it's crazy.
You picked my mind because this is what my thought was. Like, is this guy driving down the road because it happens? I watch a very popular TV show that goes inside the life of the police on Friday and Saturday night on
PD Cam or
I watch the PD Cam too, but
he loves those shows.
The On Patrol Live and stuff like this.
Okay.
And so I know we watch it. So you have the military police, right?
Yes, sir.
And so those military police will pull you over.
Right.
Well, that's what he does. He's security forces, military police.
Okay, so they'll pull you over and say, oh, by the way, this is 35 and you were doing 50.
Right. Yep. So we'll use LiDARs, and they'll get out and they'll set it at different areas, and then they'll try to capture people speeding. Obviously, we won't ever see anything quite like this, but
I mean, hopefully.
But you'll catch, you'll catch speeders.
And they drink too.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up too. I was going to have him answer about that. In the military, it's different because they operate under Uniform Code of Military Justice, right? So if you get caught with alcohol, for DUI, not only can, let's say you get arrested off the base, you get charged locally for us, right? But when you get back to the military, you get charged again under Uniform Code of Military Justice. Is that correct?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I'll say it's hard to really.
Not speaking of specifics.
Right, I'll say it's hard to say, right?
Does that make sense?
I'll say it's kind of hard to say exactly what would happen to somebody for doing something similar to this, right? If they're charged on the civilian side as well as in the military side, it's going to be dependent on command and everything like that. So I wouldn't say there's one set, get caught doing this is what's going to happen. There's going to be variables to it, and
but you're in big trouble.
Without a doubt, I would say without a doubt,
right?
So you have people drive up to the post and
that's
intoxicated, the
probably
biggest one when they check
right?
them coming in.
And
they come to the post and they're drunk.
Right, and a lot of them, I will say primarily what we see are civilian. And a lot of times, especially coming into some of the gates, if you don't turn, you'll end up driving right into the gate. And then we have medians to where you can't really turn around. So you're going to have to come up to the checkpoint, and at that point, that's when we'll typically notice, maybe they're coming in and we got some speed bumps, they hit them a little hard, or they're swerving around, or they're doing something that kind of sets us off to think, well, this person could be impaired, and then obviously, as you had mentioned, sometimes they come up and you can smell it. And a lot of
Never
times,
thought of that. They pull in and they think they're making a right-hand turn to like go to Wendy's, and then they pull in,
right?
right? And then you're like, oh, by the way,
Get out of the car.
Get to a security checkpoint with all these security police officers. Right
You know,
here, so,
I have a funny story. One time I was in California when I lived there to go to GIA, and I was trying to come to Nevada. And I didn't realize that when we were driving, we made the wrong turn. And so we were going towards Mexico.
Oh, geez.
Right? And so all I remember was seeing this big thing that said, like, by the way, this isn't the correct way of, like, this is your last turnaround before, you're going to enter a checkpoint.
Yeah.
It's like, I never even thought of that. But again, with people being impaired and doing these type of activities, right? We need the military to help us to get sometimes these people off the road because they're not doing the right activities.
Right.
And just like he said, maybe they're not blowing at .248 at 109 miles an hour on the base, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the speed limit is posted for a specific reason, and whoever it is that came together for the military, for the Nevada State Police, or, the roadways, it's the Department of the Traffic Safety and all that type of stuff, right? That they or whatever, you'll let me know the department, but that they came up with the speed limits and said, look, this road is 65 miles an hour. Okay, listen, it's 65. If you wanted to go 68, we're not telling you to speed, but this is where you need to be because there's specific things on the roadway and turns and all this type of stuff that at 109 miles an hour, forgetting the alcohol, you cannot stop your vehicle in enough time if there was a mattress in the road, which happens.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so we need people, and there's people that work for Nevada State Police that I know, without going into specifics of names, that have lost loved ones due to reckless driving and DUIs because someone decided to do this instead of driving 70 miles an hour, getting to Las Vegas, crack open that bottle of tequila in your room and drink till you know what I mean? Till you can't stand anymore. But you're not hurting anyone. The sad thing is that we caught him, but 5 people, they didn't get caught. You know what I mean? And so there's only so many troopers out there to be able to patrol the roadways, and so that's why we need to be able to, if you see somebody getting in a car or these type of activities and they're drinking, you need to stop them. And so we need more troopers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we're herding on the road pretty good for troopers to be out there, especially on the graveyard hours where DUIs are the highest. But I mean, even this, it shows that it's at 10:30 in the morning. So especially in Vegas, I mean, alcohol, drugs are readily available all hours of the day. But also speaking on his point, I mean, it's not just us, obviously, that are catching it. It's happening on the base. So it's happening everywhere at this point. And at this point, it doesn't seem that no matter how many times we post this, people are still doing it. And it's like they're not learning. And some people we stop, and it's like their 3rd, 4th DUI, and they just continue to do it. It's something that they just don't recognize as a problem, essentially. You could be doing 109 and not be intoxicated and lose a tire, and you are not going to make it out of that unscathed. Like, you're going to lose control. People think that they have control always, even when they are intoxicated. And it's obviously an issue here in Vegas just because of everything going on. But yeah, we need the help as much as we can.
And then, you know what, and this is a selfless act.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this trooper that made this stop potentially saved not only one life,
Right.
but probably numerous lives.
Yeah.
We don't know, but thank God that he was there at that time, working that area, to get this guy. He hasn't even made it to Vegas yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just crazy. It's
Hasn't even made it here.
yeah.
And
Can
typically,
you imagine what this guy's going to do?
yeah, I usually tell my
Well, now
I
he's in
used to
handcuffs.
I used to be a training officer, and I would tell my trainees, every DUI arrest that you make, you're saving at least one life, whether it be the person that you're arresting or somebody else that they could have injured down the road.
Yep,
So
true.
when you do a DUI arrest, you're at least saving one life every single time.
And I just want to say one thing, that this guy, instead of coming to Las Vegas and having a great time, right?
Yep.
He got to wear handcuffs.
Mhm.
He certainly was uncomfortable in the back of a patrol car with handcuffs on, looking out the trooper's window and watching his car get towed.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to do
Yeah.
say about this is this guy didn't even have a driver's license. So that
And
kind of
that's
adds on
Yeah.
What I'm
to
saying, like,
major issues down the road.
like he's like, this
So,
is a
yeah.
person that's watching this.
Mhm.
They have alcohol on the base,
They do.
and so they have like a bar or something that someone can like go and.
Yeah, we have what? We have like a little.
What was that movie
I don't want to
that
say.
I saw? Heartbreak Ridge, right? Like they have like a little bar like that.
The NCO clubs.
The
Yeah,
NCO
yeah,
club.
The different
Mhm.
clubs. Yeah, where
they
they will.
have that soft
serve
music
alcohol.
or no? that was the joke in the Heartbreak Ridge. Stop. Come here. That was the joke in the Heartbreak Ridge. But no, you can drink alcohol on the base.
Right, you can.
You can.
Yes, sir.
Are you allowed to consume marijuana on the base?
You are not.
And so, are you allowed to consume marijuana as in the Air Force?
You are not.
That's a federal.
Yeah.
It's illegal
Oh.
federally.
Okay.
Right.
This is only a state thing that we have
Yeah.
here,
Okay. Because
which is a
people-
good thing
Yeah.
because you're operating jets, fighter jets,
Mhm.
C-130s, massive planes. That'd be like a captain from Alaska Airlines doing marijuana a few days before and then taking 200 some passengers. Can you imagine the Air Force having
Yeah.
something? They'll all that kind of stuff. Even though it legalizes statewide, I could never see it ever being legalized
federal.
in for military. Not only weapons, but the big equipment that they use every day. You know, whether it's light armored vehicles or tanks, and especially for Air Force. I mean, you got fighter jets, you got massive tankers, everything up in the air, bombers that you cannot. These are billion-dollar planes. I mean,
Right,
multi-billions. I mean, you're responsible for that. I could never see them legalizing any military, nor do I want them to legalize anything like that because there's just so much at risk, not only for the public but for our military.
Yeah.
So I don't see that ever happening, Neil.
Something to touch on too, real quick with that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
probation. So with that, some people that are on probation or parole think because marijuana is legal in the state of Nevada, one of their conditions on parole or probation is that they have to follow all municipal, local, state, and federal laws. So marijuana is still federally illegal, so you are not allowed to use marijuana while you are on probation or parole. If it's a medical condition, then you have to get special agreement from your judge that sentenced you to probation or the parole board to get allowed to smoke marijuana.
Yeah. So your life, as you know it, is not the same.
Right? No.
You know
Not
what
at
I'm
all.
saying?
Yep.
Like, and so I was just gonna say, we would see Officer McClarty or
Right.
something like that on parole and probation. Sergeant Clifton, right?
Just like McClarty, but he started parole probation too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what a wealth of knowledge
Yeah.
that he can bring that up and
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
tell everybody.
I was
Remember?
at
So,
parole and probation for 4.5
forgot
years.
that. Yeah.
Highway patrol for 3.5, and now I'm at training.
yeah.
So real quick, I mean, without again, no specifics whatsoever, a infraction that has to do with reckless driving and DUI, generally speaking, right? That someone now has to be arrested for those offenses. Not only it's the money, right, of the lawyer and all, and the working and the losing the license and you know what I mean and all this type of stuff, but like this is time that I don't know how long these things linger. We said I always joke with them. I always say, "So how's jail?" Right? And they always look and go, "I don't know. I've never been there." You know what I mean? But like when an infraction like this happens, this can take years.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like this isn't like, okay, listen, you made a mistake, go see the judge tomorrow. He's going to sign off on this and you're on probation for a year and just don't get in trouble and No, like there can be very serious things that people don't realize.
Right.
They lose their job.
Yeah.
What if you have to drive
Yeah.
for a living? You know what I mean?
You lose
Can't
your-
have that on record, especially like commercial driving. You get one of those,
and
you're done.
Yep, you can't drive.
You're
again.
not going to be driving a
Yeah.
semi truck or anything like that. That's one of the good things when going back like that training. They go over all the do's and don'ts. A lot of these drivers know they just want to get more safety education and everything, and what to know their post and pre trips and all that, and what to look for safety features. But if you go out there and because there's zero alcohol and marijuana use or anything, like even on your big rigs, because the potential of major injury or fatals. You know what I mean? Because big rigs, you can't stop them when they're pulling 80,000 pounds.
Especially if you're high.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These people.
Yeah. So I mean, there's consequences. You know, life's all about consequences. We gotta plan ahead, and we've talked about this numerous times on your show. We're not telling people that you can't drink or have a good time. I mean, we always talk. You know, Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world. We want you to come out here and have fun, but just don't get behind the wheel. You know, if you feel different or something, just don't get behind the wheel. Yeah, you can do your alcohol or drugs or whatever. Keep it at the hotels or at your home, but don't get in that car, because now you're putting your life and somebody else's life in danger, and we don't want that. And that's what we ask the public to do. You know, if you're going to do those activities, do it somewhere where, let's say you need to go somewhere, you get a designated driver, or there's Uber, Lyft, taxis, buses. There's no excuse anymore for driving DUI. And I know we've put this on and on and on, but we're going to just keep talking about it, because obviously a lot of people don't pay attention or don't care. But if we can save that one or two people that, hey, I'm going to change my lifestyle. Even, Neil, you've talked about it. You used to drive fast.
Yeah.
And you've stopped driving fast from what you used to drive. There's no reason for it, right? I mean, if you want to drive fast, you've been on the track. You know what I mean? Yeah, people could go on the track. Yeah, once. But
I didn't know you weren't. But you ever
Yeah.
been on a racetrack before?
I haven't, no.
All right. Well, who knew that when you were driving and the pace car went this way and got off the track, that didn't mean drive as fast as you felt like.
Oh, yeah.
see, he kind of took away from the pace car
Right,
racetrack for an event. And then they're like, what the heck? Everybody had to stop him because he was
Right.
like,
and
Carried
who
away.
knew that when you were driving around the track at like some ridiculous speed,
Yeah.
right? And you're just right. That like you had to look at a guy waving a black flag, which meant like, listen,
stop.
moron.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need to stop. And finally, they brought out all these trucks. Who knew? I mean, the best part was
Yeah.
I was getting chased by the Nevada State Police. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
yeah.
But no, I you know, who knew? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
good times, Neil. Good
Good times.
times.
Yeah, the racetrack. What can I do? Buckle up.
Yes, like we said, every segment that we're going to do on Trooper Talk,
Yes.
we're going to talk about safety.
Yes.
And last week we had something different, and now I want to talk about wearing your safety belts, because a lot of our fatals, a lot of them towards the end, around December, our fatals, we could have had 3 or 4 people here today speaking with us, but they decided not to wear their seatbelts. And several of them were single rollover vehicles. You don't have your seatbelt, you get ejected out of the car. You know, you lose your life for what? For you feel like it's uncomfortable. I'll tell you what, I wear my seatbelt all the time, but I don't even notice it. When you put your seatbelt on, after a while, do you even notice it? And some people say, well, it's uncomfortable, or I don't like this. There's a reason that we have seatbelts in the car. And I just want the public to understand that, hey, buckle up. You know, we're going to be looking for that. Unfortunately, here in Nevada, it's a secondary offense. So we actually have to witness another traffic violation first before we can cite you for a seatbelt violation. That could change in the future or whatever. Some states are that once they see it, they can go ahead and cite you on that. But you will get a ticket if you're not wearing a seatbelt. If you've been speeding or some other violation, we will cite you for that. Because, and it's not that the state needs money and we're doing this just to be mean or anything. We want you to save your life, because, you know, a lot of these crashes, a lot of these injuries, they wouldn't even be getting injured if they were just wearing your seatbelt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many times that they hit their head on the glass or or dashed. They didn't get ejected or anything, but it's a serious injury. And the only reason they hit the glass or the front of their steering wheel is because they had no seatbelt on. And it just takes not even 2 seconds to click it.
And on top
So
of
that's
that,
why I
it's-
want to get that out there.
It's not hard to tell when they're involved in a crash if they were wearing their seatbelt or not. A lot of the newer vehicles, when they are wearing their seatbelt, the seatbelt will lock when the airbags go off, so it'll be loose when they get out of the vehicle. If they weren't wearing the seatbelt, it'll be tight up against the or the B post, I guess, and it won't move at all. So you can tell that they weren't wearing the seatbelt at the time of the collision.
And also
So-
during the collision, we know that they've been wearing it because it will leave a little bruise on you.
They'll have seatbelt marks.
But
so-
as hard as that crash was to get that bruise,
Yep.
can you imagine not
Yeah,
wearing that
not
seatbelt?
having it and going
I
into
mean,
the
that
collision.
either killed you,
Yeah.
or you're looking at being in the hospital for a long time for fractures in the face or whatever. We're just asking people, just simply wear your seatbelt.
Yep.
You know, there's so many people. I even pass them and I see them not wearing their seatbelt, and I'm like, what are you thinking? I mean, these times, a lot of our cars, you almost want to buckle your seatbelt because the dang alarm's
it won't
going off
stop
the whole.
going.
You start driving, that thing's beep, 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 and I go crazy.
Yeah.
Just wear your seatbelt. That's all we're asking, because I'm not going to say a third. I don't want to give any percentages, but there is a large percentage, well, not a large percentage, but there is a percentage of fatals that could have been prevented just wearing your seatbelt. I've rolled up on crashes, Neil, that I thought I'm going to be at a fatal because there's nothing left of the car. It's just a shell, and they're out in the desert, and there's a couple people standing out there, and I'm thinking I'm going to walk up, and it's a fatal crash. And those two people were in the car because they were wearing their seatbelts with just scratches.
Yep.
And I'm like, thank God, because they were wearing their seatbelt, and for sure, I thought I was for sure that it was a fatal out there. That's how bad the car was. But these cars are designed for that. I mean, not only your seatbelt, but the airbags to go off and everything. It's all designed to protect you. And a lot of these newer cars, they have a crumple factor. So they're designed to crumple up to absorb that impact. When you had the older cars that were solid metal, they didn't really move, and you could get severely hurt. I mean, those steering wheels, a lot of steering wheels will give. I mean, they kind of seem hard to us, but they'll kind of give to the body, where the other ones used to be solid, and you would have like a solid seatbelt. It'd kill you. It'd crush your chest. Absolutely. So our cars have come a long ways, and just for everybody's safety, but I just want to remind people, just buckle up. We want you to wear your seatbelts while you're out there.
Yeah, and I was going to say that on where is that? So that's the 95 getting onto the 15. There's a certain big bump right there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The roller coaster hump.
And part of the reason that I wear my seatbelt not only is because of the trooper talk, but because I hit that bump at a certain speed and thought that because I was like this, I drive my car, right? So it's like this. And I thought that I was going to
Be launched.
go over
Yeah.
because I hit and I
Went up.
ejected from the seat and my head was above the roof and I was like, okay, this is not where you want to be in life.
I'm
And
glad you
so-
kept control, though.
Right, it was very
And I'm glad you didn't
Yeah, it
like
was very-
try to overcorrect or something.
No,
Because that would have been a
It-
disaster.
totally, and it was
Yeah.
very, very, very scary. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so,
We don't recommend that for anybody at home.
Right,
So that
no,
Neil's giving a learning lesson.
right,
You know
listen,
what I mean?
I'm telling you,
So,
like the
yeah.
thing is that the seatbelt is vital. You know what I'm saying? Let me ask you two questions. So you're a master sergeant.
Correct.
So you've seen the movie Tank?
I have not.
With it's one of my favorite movies with I forget the guy's name, Garner. Anyway, it's a fantastic movie about a guy who was a master sergeant
Oh, okay.
and he owned a Sherman tank.
Oh, okay.
And he the army he was in
Right.
allowed him to store his tank on the base. You know, anyway, and so it was very.
a good
cool.
Hollywood
and
story.
So
Yeah.
and so anyway, it was very. One of the most interesting things that I saw was that because it wasn't just like when he went on to the base, he was in the army, but it wasn't that he was just sergeant. It was like he was a master sergeant, and so there's a very big difference, between the two. Please describe to us what the difference between the two is.
Well, so I'll say in our enlisted ranks, we have 3 different tiers. We have our airman tier, which is our E1s through our E4s. And then we have our NCO tier, which is our E5 and E6. And then we have our senior non-commissioned officer tiers, which is our E7 through E9s. So it's that increased responsibility, of course. You know, each tier you go through, you know, you're slowly just building up, you know, for that increased responsibility. But your jobs are a little different. As an airman, you know, E1 through E3, your jobs are really, you know, make sure you know your job, make sure you're doing your job. You don't have a crazy amount of responsibility over teams or other people. It's really, take care of the job, know your job, all that good stuff. As an E4, we start to put a little more responsibility on you as far as kind of being the, we call them the senior airman. That's the actual rank. So, you know, to kind of mold those E3s to E1s beneath you, right, or under your rank, right? So, and then you get up to that NCO, the non-commissioned officer tier. That's E5 and E6, and you know, the level of responsibility increases. E5s are typically frontline supervisors, so they're in charge of the airmen that are underneath them, and they could have anywhere from 1 to some of these bases. I mean, when I first joined, we had E5s that had 15 airmen underneath them, so they're in charge of making sure, you know, we have our PT tests that we have to make sure are done. We have annual reports that we have to do, so appointments that we have to make sure we make as far as medical qualification trainings, all that good stuff. So they're really in charge of making sure that's done. As a technical sergeant, one of your things is to be a technical expert on your job, but also lead E5s and in that airman tier as well. And then once you hit the senior NCO tier, it's taking care of your people, but it's also making sure that you're taking care of your team. You start to lead more teams. As mentioned, I'm a section chief for training, which is one of my teams. Where I have military and civilian personnel that work as instructors, and then I have the non-commissioned officer in charge of training, who is technically over that section, but then I'm just that next level up from him. And then I have my weapons and tactics section, where I have a technical sergeant in charge of that section as well. So my job is to take care of them as teams, make sure they have what they need, make sure I advocate for them as needed. And then obviously as you go up, senior master sergeants, which is over master sergeants. They're typically over multiple teams, you know, so superintendent type positions. And then we have our chief master sergeants, which are typically our senior enlisted leaders. It recently kind of changed. It used to be a little bit different. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but each rank, you know, you're built up to make sure that you can handle. By the time you promote to that next rank, you're kind of prepared to take on the responsibilities of that next.
And you're at E8, right?
E7. So that's
E7.
where the
Okay.
master sergeant, Army E8 is our master sergeants.
Okay.
So
And then
Slightly
there was
different,
the
but-
Men of Honor. You've seen that movie?
I'm bad with movies. I don't watch a lot of movies.
Okay, so Men of Honor.
My
that
wife
was
watches a lot of movies,
where
but
he had to walk 12 steps in the he was the diver.
And he got
Right,
hurt.
right. You
Yep.
remember that one?
Yep.
And so anyway, and he was a master sergeant in the
I think Navy.
in the Navy,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
So it's very cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know, in your position, do you think you'll get to the higher positions, or in the next
So your
commission?
goal to be chief someday?
I don't know. So
Is that a too
I don't know.
personal of a question?
No. I mean, that's honestly an easy question, because it's really, I don't want to say up to me, right? I mean, I have to
Sure,
keep doing
sure.
what I have to do, but
You love what you do.
I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's the
I
biggest
do
part of
love
it,
right?
is loving it. Absolutely.
It does a lot of, you know, it keeps me in shape, and there's a lot of good things. It keeps me active. It's allowed me to travel and go different places and meet tons of different people. I mean, the different people that we have join are different backgrounds and all that good stuff. And that's one good thing about security forces, that we are the largest career field in the Air Force, and we just have people from all different backgrounds, all across the United States and such, that come in, and you just get to interact with them and learn. You know, I've had quite a few people from like New York and like the different boroughs and stuff, and coming from a small town where I grew up on land, you know, being able to talk to them and learn about how they grew up, you know, in a borough in New York City, it's interesting. It's
And you make good friendships that last a
Right.
lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When you're in the
no.
military, a lot of these people will always contact, and then whether he goes to another base, he's always going to run into somebody that he knew from that base, or somebody gets transferred from another base that they served together
Oh,
somewhere,
right.
and that happens all the time. And what's nice about, with like you said, with security forces, they're everywhere. So and just the Air Force in general, a lot of people that go in the Air Force, they get to travel all over the world. You might get stationed in Korea or Japan for a year or two. You might go TDY for a certain specialty field that you're in. You might spend 6 months, sometimes a year. They'll probably keep you a year at TDY, right, or something like that for special things.
Yeah.
But I mean, you you might go to Italy, England. I mean, this is what's nice because the military's paying for it, and you get to see
Right.
quite a few things that you probably never thought that you would actually pay or go and see, but you're experiencing it. And then when you're off duty for your work for the day at the base, then they allow you to go out and travel and see some of
Right,
the
yeah.
parts in the cities. So you know, it's a win-win.
Oh,
I think.
100%. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned, I mean, the longer you're in, the more people you meet, you know, there's constantly times people say, man, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. And you're like, well, I know somebody out there, let me get with them. And then you give them a point of contact out there, and typically things start to work out for them. So it's always nice being able to help people out. And like you said, I mean, you meet friends. I got a good friend at Kirtland that we're about to be PCSing back in December. I met him at my first base. We talk all the time, and we're both excited to be able to be back kind of in the same area to do
Cool
Very
things,
cool.
right?
outdoor stuff. Right.
You know, the Nevada State Police, I mean, they're not flying you to Italy.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But-
that's
but-
not gonna happen.
But we have Lake
Go recruit
Tahoe,
out there.
Right.
right? We have Reno.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great things in the state,
Right.
right? On top of which, there's a lot of different divisions
Right.
that Nevada State Police does that they will allow you the opportunity after so many years to transfer, right? And so there's a lot of similarities
Right.
to the military and the Air Force to the Nevada State Police, to what it is that they offer
Right.
and what it is that Nevada State Police offers. And so when we talk about those things, you know, you were on parole, not on, sorry. You worked for parole and probation, right? You worked for the Highway Patrol, right? Now you do the recruiting.
Right.
You've had a lot of different divisions,
Right.
but you're still loving what you do. And you know, if you wanted to, and you decided that, you know, after your commission or tour with the recruiting,
Right.
you know, listen, you know, my family and I, we decided we want to move to like a very obscure place in the state of Nevada where, you know, there's no police officers, and, you know, that's where I want to live.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Sergeant Clifton lives 30 minutes from the city,
Mm-hmm.
but he has his take-home car.
Yep.
And so, like, it's not taking advantage of anybody. It's just, this is what the job is, and this is what the job offers.
Yep.
And if you put in your due diligence for the Nevada State Police, there's wonderful things that they offer that no other police agency in the state offers, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so kind of like what he was going off of, there's so many different functions and so many divisions that you could work for that I couldn't understand anybody ever getting bored working for Nevada State Police because of so many different divisions that you're able to work for. So like I said, I started at parole and probation, loved everything about it. I did everything over there. Got to do and see a lot of cool things. Kind of got burnt out and transferred over to Highway Patrol. Loved it, and then this opportunity opened up, so I applied for it. But yeah, we also are allowed to travel. So if for whatever reason you get tired of the heat or you just want to go up north, you're able to transfer up north and you can go now work in Reno or Carson. But like you were saying, if you wanted to go to some little town, if you want to go to Jackpot, Nevada, go to Jackpot, Nevada, and the state will pay for you to move up there and transfer up there. So there's really no reason to get bored or kind of get stagnant in your career with Nevada State Police. There's so much room for growth and improvement. And just so many opportunities with the different divisions. So we have the two, or technically the 3 entry-level positions: parole and probation, highway patrol, and Capitol Police. But then we still have the specialty divisions like the fire marshals, as well as divisions of investigations, which are kind of like our detectives. So there's just so many opportunity and so many different things that we're able to do.
Yeah, and let's touch on one more thing before we get to the next picture: the buckle up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You drive your patrol car. Right. People still blow past you at 100 miles an hour
all the time
because they don't care.
Yeah.
But you know, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the buckling up, it's, you know, when you go up to a traffic stop and you know the answer.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just tell everybody so that they're very clear. You know the answer to the question. So if it is that you choose to lie, the only person that you're lying to is yourself.
Yep.
So when it is that a police officer pulls you over for whatever the reason, or even if you're stopped because you're helping someone and he pulls behind you and they have a question for you, the best thing to do is to keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Right.
Let them direct you, and don't, oh my goodness, I just got pulled over. Maybe they can't see in my car. Let me grab the seatbelt now and put seatbelt in.
Yeah. No.
Right? This is not acceptable.
No. Not at all.
And so we need to do everything we can, because not every single show, but a lot of the shows that we do, we pop up that thing where it says how many people have passed away this year, right? And there's always pedestrian deaths, right? And there's always seatbelt deaths. You know, besides the speeding and impairment and all that type of stuff. But there are real things. And so when it comes to the buckling up, it's something that's so important, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just being responsible out on the roadway, essentially. I mean, we all have to do our part. It's not just the public, but even us in our patrol vehicles, we also have to be responsible. We're also operating a motor vehicle, but we also go to training for that, right? We go to training so that we're able to kind of work and fumble through all of the stuff that we have in our vehicle, but we train with that and we work with it every single day. As to where the public, they just have to worry about wearing the seatbelt, don't be speeding, making sure that you're keeping your eyes on the road and not messing around with your cell phone or anything like that. Just being responsible out on the roadway is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, can I add
go
one more
ahead, Tom.
thing? Because we were talking about, you know, being on Nevada State Police where you can transfer anywhere in the state, which is true, right?
Right.
But I want people to know out there that if you live in a rural area, always wanted to be a police officer or parole and probation, you can stay in that rural area that you live and come and work for us. Because if there's openings where you're at, we would love to have you come out and test with us. Because there's a lot of rural areas that we don't have state police, that we need to get them in certain areas, and you don't want to leave your area, you don't want to come to Vegas or Reno, and you want to stay in your area. I want to tell those people that live in those rural areas that we will accept you and we'll train you to be a police officer, parole and probation, and you can reside and stay where you're living in that rural area. I just wanted to bring that up also.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
Military
Absolutely.
have an age?
They do.
So you can only join till a certain time
Certain
and stuff like
age.
that?
Yes, sir.
And once you're in, it doesn't matter. You have to retire at a certain age?
No, it's not tied to age. It's tied to rank. So we have different ranks that you'll hire tenure out of the military. So in order to do 20, you have to be at least currently, and these things can change, but in order to do 20 years right now, currently you have to be at least an E5 to do 20. Yeah, you have to make, and it's changed even since I joined. Used to, I don't remember the exact years, but used to E5s could only do 15. So you knew you had to make at least E6 years back to be able to retire. But since then, they've changed it. Now it's E5, 20 years. So you can retire.
Wow. I mean, like, you don't think about these things, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Can you be on the? Can you just be on the highway patrol and you can, right?
Yep.
You don't
Absolutely.
Have to, you don't have to
Absolutely.
promote to like
Nope.
sergeant.
Nope,
or,
no, you'd be a
right?
trooper the whole. I did it. I'm showing you that I did it the,
Like,
the
that's
whole
it,
career.
like, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's so I mean that's cool. You know what I mean? Like if you found something that you really wanted to do,
Right.
Mhm.
right, and you loved it and the whole thing. Does that make sense?
One thing good about with them too is once you get your 20 years in, you got free medical and dental for life, and that's a huge thing if you end up later on in the future because medical with the cost of medical and everything else,
For
and
the
you're
rest
and then
of
you're
your life.
yeah, and then you're getting a paycheck, But I want to say on the Nevada State Police too, once you do your time, 25, 30 years with us, you're going to get a paycheck the rest of your life
Yep.
because you're paying into a PERS. It's a public retirement system through the state, and you're always going to get that check. The only way that you would never receive it is the whole nation went under or the state went under. Nobody could pay tax. You know what I mean? So you're going to receive that the rest of your life for putting your time in with the patrol. And that's one nice thing about the military and Nevada State Police. We're kind of like a paramilitary organization. We have rank and structure, and we have policies and procedures that we have to follow, just like the military. So it's very similar. But when it comes like retirements, people really got to look at what they want to do because when you take that job out there, you might be paying in a 401k. How sturdy is that 401k with the stock market and everything else? We know we're going to get a certain salary, so are they once they retire. And that medical and dental benefits is going to mean everything when you
Right.
get older. So it's a
that's
good plus
tremendous.
on either way.
Yeah,
So,
that's tremendous.
yeah.
That's cool that they make you like, in certain things, like, cause that I would just be like the guy that E1 and just hang out for the rest of my life, just, you know what I mean? Fix things and do
Yeah.
things and you know what I
Yeah.
mean and all that type of stuff.
Doesn't mean you still can't do those kind of
No,
things,
no,
but
yeah.
yet they want you to kind of move up so you can
Right.
be a
Right,
leader
right.
within the organization. They
Yeah,
don't want
no,
you to be
100%.
stagnant.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, look at this one.
All right, this is what we have coming up this Saturday.
This Saturday,
Yes, the IPOF
Car
Classic Car Show. We're going to have, I don't know, I know a lot of our viewers have probably watched it a time or two. Remember Chips
yes.
with Eric Estrada
Yes.
and his
Danny
name's on-
Wild will be there.
Yep,
Michael-
yep. Yeah, John. It was Ponch and John.
Yes.
Danny's going to be there, which is John from Chips. He's
Yeah.
going to be out there. And then we also have one of the officers that was on TJ Hooker.
Yes.
It's also going to be out there. So you can meet those movie stars out there. And they're going to have some classic rods and a lot of the old police cars and
Yeah.
other. We're going to have our newer car out there and everything too. So it's going to be a fun time. We can't wait.
We love the IPOF. We've been doing stuff with them for now. I don't know, about 15 years or so.
Oh, you're instrumental
A-
to a lot of
and,
it,
And
Neil.
so
Absolutely.
Jay D'Angelo puts that on. Adrian from the TJ Hooker always comes.
Mhm.
Last year was the first year for the Chips, but they came and they were fantastic, both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Eric Estrada
Eric
was here
Estrada
last year
was
and all
there,
that. yeah.
and they came and you know what I mean. He signed pictures and you know what I mean, all that type of stuff, and had a line around the building, and everybody wanted to hang out and take their photo, and you know what I mean, all that type of stuff. And they're gonna have great food and all that type of stuff, and it's supposed to be a nice time, and so that's this Saturday.
Yep. And for those who don't know what IPOF is, it's the Injured Police Officers Fund, and that goes directly to officers that are hurt in the line of duty
Yep.
or have lost their life, and we help them out, their families during difficult times, and that's what it's all about. We come together and try to help our own. It doesn't matter what department you're on. This is valley-wide, and we're out there to promote that for all the officers throughout the valley.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic time. They have the canines that come, and they do the little canine thing. They have the SWAT guys come, all right, with
Right.
that Bearcat thing that you have,
Right.
right? and so they come and they allow everybody to go in, and most people they can't even step on the first step, right? But you've driven one of them before?
I have not. I'm sure I will going back to Kirtland.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You've been in
Fine,
one of them
yes.
though?
I have.
Is it pretty cool?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's all, everything's hard inside of them. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's one of those things, everything you hit, you're like, so I spent a lot of my first few years inside Humvees.
Oh, really?
Right. So
Driving or in the
driving.
past?
Mhm.
Oh, driving.
Yes, sir.
Do you, You know what's very interesting about them? I don't know what the military ones are, but like they only have 300 horsepower.
I believe it.
You know, like they're not like they're
yeah,
not,
but they're geared so low
Yeah.
that they
Right.
can go.
They
in,
can go
know,
anywhere you want,
yeah,
right? They
Absolutely.
They can.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
You have any you have an interesting story about the Humvee, that when you were driving or something, like you were driving over like something that you didn't think you would get over?
No, I've seen them at a one of our training areas.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty incredible. They have courses where they'll go up hills, down, you know, not 90, but 75, 80% inclines, and
Yeah.
then right back up and stuff. So they're capable, more capable than I would say they look, you know, especially with that weight on them of being up armored and stuff. But
They're wider, so they don't.
I
They
don't
don't
know, I
have
would be
that
scared.
rollover ability. You know what I mean? With the shocks and the
Right.
rollover, they don't roll over as. That's why they make them so wide. Then you
Right.
can put more troops in them too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I-
they're
I-
amazing vehicles.
I look at it like, you know, you see those people that drive the things and they go like this and they, you know, they, like you said, 70% incline. Like, I don't know what I would do. I mean, like, I'd start freaking out, like, right? Because like you're literally like looking down, right? Like you're like
well, then you got turret gunners, and we do a rollover training in them sometimes where they have just, you know, basically the
shell.
the shell of the Humvee, you know, and you'll do typically before you deploy or something, you'll have to do some type of rollover training in them, and that's where you'll have a gunner and they wear harnesses and stuff, and you'll have somebody working the thing, and they'll show you different, you know, 30%, 30, and then they'll roll it over, and you gotta, you know, there's different actions you take to try to pull your gunner in, and then obviously try to orient yourself and then get out of the vehicle.
That's good training though. A
Yeah,
real
it's
life
interesting,
scenario.
and it's crazy how disorienting it is when you're upside down.
Yeah.
Because
You have no
you
idea
know, yeah,
where's up or down.
right.
Or
You're pulling, you know, and you can combat lock those doors. So, you know, you're laying upside down and you get in and you pull up on it to open the door, but you're really just combat locking it.
Yeah.
And before you know, you're okay. Well, let me push down, let me find everybody, you know, and then get them out. But
when you get rolled, you get kind of confused
Oh,
for a
yeah,
second.
yeah.
So
And-
you got to do that training, you know,
yeah.
to keep.
And
that-
they'll just roll us, you know, one time. This isn't something where you're rolling 9,
Yeah.
10 times where it's really messing you up. This is just one roll, and you might teeter a little, and then you'll stop, and yeah, you're disoriented. It's interesting to
do that.
just experience it and understand what you could experience in the event some real life rollover happens.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things that the Nevada State Police does, which is really wonderful, is that they go to classrooms and do reading.
okay.
They go to the schools and they allow people, which I've seen Corporal Wellman literally open up her car to the school. And kids were running around with her tactical helmet, her bulletproof vest, you know, on the megaphone, screaming at their friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, playing with the lights, playing with the beep. You know what I mean? Like, all these things. And so the Nevada State Police is not just an organization that, listen, we're going to pull you over, we're going to give you a ticket, we don't care. If you're doing something wrong, we're going to arrest you. You know, this is not the way that they are.
No.
And so the Nevada State Police, not only when it comes to their troopers, goes above and beyond to make sure that everybody has everything and that everybody's safe and everything like that, but that they want to send people to car shows and to recruiting events and these type of things because they're always interested in the public opinion that people know that they're a great agency, whether you want to work for them or not. But the thing is that they're putting themselves out there, you know. And for the last couple of years, they brought a Trooper Mays car, you know, and so these type of activities have real consequences. I think Nevada Donor Network goes too.
Absolutely.
You
Yep,
know
they'll
what I
be out
mean?
there, and they give us stuff to give out, hand
Right.
out to people, and kind of talk about their organization. And I think later, sometime this year, April is Nevada Donor Network coming up this coming April. So we're probably going to have one of the gals from Nevada Donor Network coming in here and speaking with us a little bit about that. Because it's important.
It's very, very important. And so when it comes to the car show, it's a great event and it's a great recruiting event.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of guys that, and ladies that might be retired that now realize that this is a great organization to join, right?
Right. And you never know who you're recruiting. You never know who you're talking to in the moment. I mean, at that point, that could be the future major of the Highway Patrol or the future major of the Parole and Probation, right? You just never know who you're talking to, and that's how I treat everybody, regardless if they're trying to come on to be a state police officer or trooper. I treat everybody with the same respect that I treat my fellow officers with, right? There's no reason to treat anybody poorly. That doesn't do me any good. We look at the public as civilians, right? They're family too, or they're people too. They have lives just on their own. So there's no reason not to treat them with the respect. It's kind of funny actually. Yesterday I went to the gas station to get a drink, and the girl behind the counter was like, "Oh, what would I do to apply?" And I was like, "You could not be talking to the more perfect person right now." So I got her squared away, and I gave her the website and everything. But yeah, so it's just funny because you never know who you're talking to or who that person will end up being for the department in future dates. So it's a really cool opportunity to be able to interact and meet people.
We've had so many people come on that were in the military, or they worked in the casinos, or they didn't know what the heck to do in their life. You know what I mean? But they were like, I don't know. And all of a sudden, just like with you, there was, why don't you go and see what the situation is? You don't have to make any decisions. You don't have to do anything, but you're not doing anything this Saturday. And you can certainly afford a few hours to go with your friends.
Right.
So why don't you just go? You know what I mean? And just see. And one of the best things about the Nevada State Police is go and hang out with them.
Yeah.
Go and hang out with people at the Air Force, right? Like, they're cool guys and they're cool ladies. And so they just have the same common goal. And so it's really a wonderful thing. And so
Yeah, and we might be wearing uniforms, but we're just like everybody else. We have families at home. We just got a specific mission that we got to take out, and it takes a specific type of person that really cares about the community and the public that we serve. And those are the type of people that we're looking, and that's what Louis is looking to recruit. Is if you have that passion inside you to help others, and for the love of your community, reach out to Louis here at NevadaStatePolice.com. And not only, even if you just want to be, and I always say this saying, you never want to be a police officer, but you want to be part of the police organization.
Yeah.
We have so many other jobs available, administrative jobs. You could work for our department or NHP dispatch. So there's a lot of other civilian stuff that you could do within the patrol itself.
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, it's fantastic.
All right.
Look at this.
This is what we got coming up
What
this
airplane is
Saturday.
that?
C-130.
C-130.
Oh, no, that is not.
Oh,
that is a
that's
C-17.
a transport. That's
a
a transport one.
C-17.
Yeah.
That's C-70.
Well, that is that out. That is a C-17.
I want to get to Trooper Hagstrom, but let me ask you a question. How huge is that plane?
They're huge. And fortunately, a few times that I've been overseas, I've actually been able to fly on them. So
Fly
and they're
on
nice,
them.
right? And be transported on them, and it's quite comfortable actually. I
Are
mean,
you permitted to say how many levels and all that stuff, or you're not allowed to say that?
It should be, unless there's different configurations. This one's likely just a single. Once you were to get in there, and I don't think it's anything because people will be able to walk inside these.
So it's just like a big warehouse, right?
Pretty much.
It's one of the things that the Nevada State Police does in conjunction with the United States Air Force. And it shows another level of the Nevada State Police that they're willing to go out and do these events and, make sure that people know that they're there. And as well to be able to partner up with the United States Air Force. It's a very special time that people need to be aware of. So talk to us about this.
Yeah, this is going to be this Saturday and Sunday, the 5th and 6th. So we're going to be out there, Nevada State Police. We're going to have a couple booths out there doing recruiting, handing out stuff, meeting people. So if you want to come out and see us and talk to us, that'd be great. They have different organizations that come out too. They're auxiliary, the CAP, the Civil Air Patrol. I think they bring their plane out there, and there's just a few different organizations. The Marine Corps was out there. I'm a former Marine, so they gave me a shirt last year. So thank you, Marine Corps.
Right.
So they're out there doing their recruiting and all that stuff. But this is a great time just to take family and friends out, because how many times you get to see an air show and our own Thunderbirds who are in our backyard here. It's amazing. A lot of people have to travel all over the country just to see, like, you know, the Blue Angels, you know, that's way in Florida or whatever. We have this right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Thunderbirds, and they travel all over the world. And a lot of times our Thunderbirds are doing air shows throughout the United States throughout the whole year. So it's an exciting time to spend and have some food. It's free to the public. There's going to be a different way of parking. I don't know the whole situation on parking right now, but they do have you park in certain areas, and then buses can bring you in closer and drop you off at the checkpoints there. But it is free to the public, and think about that Saturday, Sunday coming up, April 5th and 6th, to go to the air show.
Yeah.
You know, this is a perfect time to go out and see what it's all
So
about.
speaking on the parking, because I was in the meeting while they were planning everything
Okay.
out, they're wanting to take you 15 north and getting off at Speedway, and then there they'll start directing you where to park and whatnot, and then you can catch the buses to get into the base.
To the base.
Yep.
Okay. Must be very interesting on the base. I mean, like with all these things. I mean, not only the fact of like what you're in charge of, right? But like all these different moving parts, and so like, you know, and I never even took into account, like, you know, you think about like securing the base, right? Like, you know, what is somebody going to do? Just drive their car, you know, that wants to be silly, you know what I mean? Like, because you know, you hear about these stories, right? But like, what type of problems are you going to have to secure an Air Force base? But it's like, it must be like this crazy task. I like, and I look at this one plane, and I'm just thinking, like, just to be able to park one plane is, you need a huge area, right? So like, you know, like you see these pictures of, like, you know, and again, not getting into specifics of how big the Nellis Air Force Base is, right? But it's like, it's huge. And so, you know, to be able to have that and be able to know that you're part of the securing of the Air Force Base, when you see events like this, does it sort of put you at a heightened level of like, you know, you have to be even more diligent than people driving in the cars?
Right, we do. And hosting an event like this, I mean, it takes a lot of manpower to do so. So 4th, 5th, and 6th, we'll be busy, you know, prepping for, you know, primarily the 5th and the 6th, when we do have all the personnel coming on the installation to enjoy the air shows. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work, a lot of pre-planning on our agencies as well as local agencies to make sure that this event happens without any issues. So a lot going into it. Like I was saying, I've been here a while. This will be my first one actually working the air show, but I'm looking forward to it. So I'll be out there. I'll be at work, but I'll be around the 4th, 5th, and 6th for the air show as well.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and to be able to have other military agencies, people coming there, they want to take photos, they want to, you know, to do all these things. It's just very interesting, and so I just think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to come and again, come and say hello to the troopers. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like
Absolutely.
like, you know, I always say, you know, come and shake hands, come and hug them, to come and tell them, you know, that you just appreciate them for what it is that they're doing. You know, people come in the store, you know, all the older gentlemen, and sometimes the younger gentlemen, but it's very interesting because the younger gentlemen, they don't wear hats saying that they're a veteran. Right?
Yeah.
But the older gentlemen, you know, from Pearl Harbor and all this type of stuff, they come in and, you know, you just look at them and you just say, you know, thank you very much for your service, and you know, we appreciate you, and you know, it's a very cool thing because the acknowledgement of being able to just say, you know, thank you for, you know, for doing these type of things, is sort of what we say to you and the Air Force for putting this on and allowing all these agencies to come and, you know, spend time, because it really is about the community and stuff like that, right?
You know, you see them, they're so huge. Like you said, you know, having flown on C-17s, you walk up and you're like, how does this thing get off the ground? But
I ask that every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
you know,
And you know, they have the B-1 bomber that'll be out there, the F-35s, you know, a lot of the stuff that people see on TV, you'll actually get to get up pretty close to them. I think when the B-1 bomber is out there, you could walk underneath it and see how massive it is. They have some of the drones. They'll have some of the drones along the building. Oh yeah, so they have all this stuff available for the public to see. So it's just a great time to take the family and or your friends to go out and enjoy this time on the weekend. So
Do you get fascinated when you, without getting into specifics, like if you, let me think how I can word this. When it is that you see things that the normal person would not see, not to say a classified or something like that, right? Do you find it fascinating?
I do, and then I think, you know, I'm not a maintainer or anything, but knowing the work that goes into making sure these aircraft are able to fly, you know, all the way from the E1 or E2 that are maintaining them, you know, fixing them, doing inspections on them, all the way up to the pilots that are actually operating them. Even seeing it for the last 5 years, you know, it is still incredible to see. And yeah, it always kind of gives you that little feeling, you know, whenever you do have one of the jets fly over, or even
Yeah.
these bigger aircraft fly over, you know. So,
You look up and you're like, wow.
and then cover my ears.
Right.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You know, the Air Force, you know, doing these type of things, you know, we need to always be conscious of the fact that there are agencies out there that are protecting the nation to ensure that we are able to travel from Nevada to California or Nevada to Arizona, and the only thing that we're doing is going, you know, in our car from one state to another, and that's because of federal partners, right, who are out there doing what they're doing to ensure that we're protecting the nation. And so when it comes to protecting Nevada, right, people need to know that these type of activities that we saw in that first picture or second picture, whatever that was, you know, Nevada State Police is there.
Right.
So you may see on the news that they are short troopers or that they, you know, don't have troopers, you know, at certain times or this or you need a trooper, you call Star NHP. Somebody picks up a phone and they will help you.
Right.
And so these are real things that people need to know, because sometimes in the eyes of tragedy, maybe the truck rolled over because the which we've talked about before, you know, somebody hit the rocks on the right hand side of the ramp or something. You know, they were just going a little bit too fast and they didn't realize, and so they hit a rock and it just, you know, rolled over. I mean, these things happen.
Oh, yeah.
So if something like that happens, you're not in trouble. No one's coming over and screaming at you. The Nevada State Police is there to help.
Right.
So dial Star NHP, and they're there to help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I mentioned it earlier that we're hurting really bad for troopers. However, I think with the troops that we do have out on the road, we do a really great job of answering calls for service. Every single call that comes out on our board, we answer it, and we go out to help these people.
Yeah. I at the old building, they had the war room, which was above, and then I don't know if you've ever been there, but it has on the left hand side, it has the FAST, FAST for all the
Cameras.
the
Okay.
cameras, right? And then on the right hand side is the dispatchers. And so when we went up to the war room and we looked down, the dispatcher was there. At this time it was the supervisor. Like, he had a phone here, he had a thing on here, he had another phone here, he was typing things, he had, you know what I mean? Like, there's 19 things that are happening, and then the person over there is watching, you know, the camera, because whatever it is that he's doing, you know, they're looking at the roadway of exactly what it is that they're doing. And so we need civilians. Maybe they don't want to wear a badge.
Right.
Maybe they don't want to wear a gun. Maybe they don't want any of that responsibility. but they want to do great things for the state. Maybe they worked for the military and they want to do a second pension. You know, like all these things are real things that people can look at. And this is one of the things that the Nevada State Police does when it comes to the recruiting.
Right.
And so talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's not just law enforcement officers that we're looking for. Obviously, that's one of my main goals. However, we do have so many different positions and different opportunities with both highway patrol, parole and probation, and dispatching for civilians who aren't looking to go into law enforcement as a law enforcement officer. We have different, as well as the civilian side, there's different ranks for the civilians. You can start as an admin assistant 1, work your way up to an admin assistant 4, and you can make your way up to be a manager. So there's different positions and definitely room for growth throughout the highway patrol and parole and probation doing different functions and duties.
It means not only so much to me, it means so much to the viewership of people that are watching, but it means so much to Trooper Hagstrom because he is so busy. I don't know if you've ever seen his office, but like his office has papers and stacked and monitors and things, and you know what I mean. And like but the thing is that he works so hard to get guests for the show, so that we can continue to show people that there's great organizations. Right. And one of the things that was very important for him was the Aviation Nation, right? As well as having you come on, because one of the things that we talk about all the time is that there's a lot of people that are in the military that have that structure, have that camaraderie, enjoy that, and for whatever reason, once they do retire or they leave, they still enjoy that. Right. And so they don't want to just go home and just eat breakfast 4 times a day. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And so the Nevada State Police offers wonderful things for that. And so we thank you for the opportunity of coming in and spending time with us.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank y'all for having me out. I appreciate it. It was a
We
lot of
appreciate
fun.
you coming out, taking the time. Absolutely.
You know, recruiting. You know, we need more people. We need more people.
Yeah.
We got to get more people, but we only want the best. You know what I mean?
Only
and so
the best.
it's not in a disrespectful way.
No.
I know I could never be an officer. I see danger, I'm running the other way. You know, and so on top of which, I would never want to have that responsibility of putting that thing on my side and, you know, being forced, if it came to that, to be able to use that. I just, you know, I can't even make a fist. and so, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's really important stuff. So part of the recruiting and then part of the academy is the fact of, listen, unfortunately, you know, not 100% of the people are going to make it. Right? And there's X number of percentage of people that will come that will not make it all the way through, and you know, that's just the way it is. But you know, the ones that do make it through, it's a tremendous career.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Nevada State Police is always giving you different things so that you can up what you're doing. And so it's great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of people that are kind of scared of applying because they don't have any experience in law enforcement or any experience in doing what we do. However, the academy will build you up to that level of confidence, and they'll build you and teach you of how to become an officer. And then once you do become that officer and you're out of the academy, the department is so open and they are so willing to have you grow and succeed in your career. They don't want you to be stagnant. They don't want you to just kind of be line level. They don't want you doing any of that. If it's with training or if it's with going out and doing activities and functions and whatnot, they're always pushing you to better yourself throughout your career. So it's an absolutely great opportunity to have a great career.
100%. Trooper Hagstrom?
Yes, sir.
We did it again.
We did.
Right? I mean, like, you know
This
what I
is
mean?
exciting.
We had him come in. He hung out. You know what I'm saying? He was here.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is like, you know what I'm
It
saying?
was a win-win. You know what I mean? And always to have Louis here. Thank you, Louis, for always
Absolutely.
being here. I like having him here because he has the background of parole and probation, highway patrol, and recruiting. That's why he's in recruiting, because he's done that and he knows what to say and what to do. He's a very well spoken
100%.
person. So when unfortunately, people that are going to Aviation Nation, I really wanted to have with Louis, but he's going to be gone for he's going to be at a wedding.
Yeah.
You know, so and he's going to be in your fine state of Texas, where you're
yeah,
born.
we'll be in Texas.
Yeah.
So, but no, we really appreciate all you do, Louis.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
it's amazing, and Master Sergeant Maynard, we really appreciate you coming
Absolutely.
out. You know, we wanted to talk a little bit about the Aviation Nation and a little bit what security forces did, and without saying too much or
Right,
whatever what you
100%.
guys do, because there's security factors around the base that we can't really discuss.
We got to be respectful
But-
of what it is.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing is, we're not trying to rob some of your people. We just want to prepare them if they do want to get out. We're always hired at Nevada State
Yeah.
Police, but we always want to give them the opportunity, because military, like I've said it before, we've had a lot of great people that are working for us now and worked in the past that have retired our former military. And we like that, because we're kind of like a paramilitary organization. So you already have the skill set and everything else. That's why we want people to come to Nevada State Police. So it'd be a great place for them to work. And like I said, if you started young, 18 out of high school, and you did your 20 years, or let's say 25, and you're 38, 41 years old, and you want to start a new career, you do another 20 years or whatever, you can start collecting 2 paychecks. You know what I mean? So it's phenomenal. And then you got the benefits on both sides. So
It's the most wonderful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Thank you again, gentlemen. So let's turn to this camera, and then we're just gonna wave. Okay, you ready? You're gonna wave too. Look at the camera. Say, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.